Welcome back to Sports Tonight Live. We're going to be talking to Moz Baker very soon, Sky Blue Trust. But the question we're going to put out there is, if your team had to move ground, would you go and watch them? You're similar. You're AFC Wimbledon, right? Yeah. Wimbledon were moved right up to Milton Keynes.
And there were initial talks of going to Dublin as well. It's a question that you could pose, like, you wouldn't want to travel miles and miles when you're not if you're not located in Wimbledon. You can't take Wimbledon FC and play them in Milton Keynes like they did for, I think,
But it's quite interesting to get a feedback on if your team was moved out of your region, would you still go and watch them?
It's not right.
But they do it all the time. They do it all the time in the MLFL. They moved from Los Angeles to Mid-America and just literally kept the name, and you just wake up one day with a football team and you support them, and it's accepted. So if it was common practice, it would be accepted.
But I think there's more culture in the UK. In the UK, there's more culture, there's more history around football. We're not going to refer to it as the S word.
It's like ground sharing as well. I mean, it makes more financial sense for QPR to be sharing with Chelsea, but it never happened.
We did it with Crystal Palace when Plough Lane was. Yeah. We were at Crystal Palace for
how did you feel?
Years. To be honest,
was that better? Was it, as a Wimbledon fan, was that better playing at Selhurst Park than moving to Milton Keynes? Do you lose your identity when you move to Milton?
You know what? I think we were at Crystal Palace for long enough to actually kind of build. I mean, Crystal Palace fans might have hated it, but it was still within that locality. The Plough Lane, I mean, there's talks of us actually going back there now, which is really good. There are redevelopment plans, and Wimbledon could be going back home, as they're saying. But it's very tricky to, you would have rivalries within cities, but if you're then playing at the same ground, like in Europe, you've got AC Milan and Inter playing at the San Siro, for example, and different things like that. For me personally, it hits my...
Can you imagine Newcastle playing at the Stadium of Light?
No.
No.
How would it be
Would you like to wash your mouth out? Are my ears deceiving me?
How would that be received?
Do you know what? We'd adapt. It would be horrible, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. I think that we're a lot more adaptable than we give ourselves credit for, quite frankly. This is 2014.
Totally
I thought you might.
Yeah, in what way, Vincent?
No, Stamford Bridge is the home of Chelsea, and we've had a lot of talk lately about moving. And we talked about moving to Battersea Power Station, which is only just over the river. It was a stone's throw away, but really, I wasn't happy with that at all. And then we talked about moving to Seagrave Road, which is literally the back of Stamford Bridge. It's a car park area that runs along the same track, and it's just behind Stamford Bridge. And none of this was acceptable. And the Chelsea pitch owners just said, no, we don't want to move. We want to stay at Chelsea.
I must admit, having been all righteous there, I had an absolute breakdown when Mike Ashley took called it the Sports Direct Arena instead of St James's Park.
Well, maybe we talk about that subject. I mean, Loftus Road, QPR moving out of Loftus Road to a new ground. I think it's not an immediate thing. I think what's happened to Coventry and certain other clubs, it's just an immediate change.
Arsenal are interesting in this point. I'd like to ask Arsenal fans, have you lost a bit of your soul moving from Highbury to the Emirates Stadium? Do you feel that you've...
It's all
or is it much better stadium?
It wasn't really dealt with much criticism because they knew a big stadium.
Very, very close, isn't it? Very, very close.
Locality is everything.
Yeah.
From the Wimbledon perspective, that's just ridiculous. You can't have a team called Wimbledon playing in Milton Keynes. It makes no sense.
But if you're getting better facilities, if you're getting, stuff that will help you gain a higher place in the league, really, you can get the train.
No one wants to go to Milton Keynes.
I mean, the question to you: if AFC Wimbledon had to play at Craven Cottage or Brentford for any particular reason, would you still go and watch AFC Wimbledon? How far out would you then start thinking, Watford, Luton, I'm not going to go and watch them?
If it was within those grounds you mentioned, at the end of the day, I support my team. The owners are there to make the decisions to keep that club running, but there's a difference between having a club and a team. Supporters support a team, and you may have some who support a club, but that's where the lines can kind of cross and disappear a bit. But I would always go and see my team, one, if I can, and financially if it makes sense. I'd love to go for every game I can. There are certain restraints with that, but there's always going to have to be a limit. So you could also argue the same fact about going for away games. There's a limit of how far you would go. Now with the Welsh teams coming into the Premier League, I can guarantee not everyone would be willing to make that trip to the Cardiffs or the Swanseas. It's same principle.
Having said that, we don't have a choice. I mean, you're spoilt in London. You really are spoiled in London. We literally, unless we are playing a derby, we have to travel. We just take that. That's just what we do. So you can get used to anything, I think.
We've got Newcastle and Middlesbrough all fairly close to each other in that location, haven't you?
Middlesbrough, yes. Because we play them very often.
Yeah. Any tweets on the subject?
We've got so many people going absolutely crazy for safe standing. We've got a lovely image of what safe standing is going to be like. Have a look at our Twitter feed for that, because it's actually a really impressive photo. But so far, actually, there haven't been anyone commenting on the ground. So if you want to give us a call, the number is down there. We'd love to have a Coventry fan on the phone to tell us exactly how it feels.
Fulham fans.
Oh, bless you, Pete. You just
need to shout out, because I think they're hidden. I think they've gone with the Wombles under the
about Plough Lane, though. It used to be great fun there, didn't it? It was so ramshackled and so unusual. And you get rid of all these different grounds. We've got to have all nice sparkly grounds.
Swansea.
We have no
I've said this before. I've been down to interview the Swansea lads, and they have nothing. I mean, they really have the most basic of training facilities and grounds, and look what they're doing. Do you need the bells and whistles?
Well, that's all to do with the money that Sky has ploughed into it, and the richer clubs become richer, and the poorer clubs have suffered.
Yeah. Well,
do you agree with that?
To a certain degree, to a certain degree, it is true, isn't it? It is true that the rich have got rich and the poor have got poorer, which is sad. But I think that there must be a sort of a way of helping the poorer clubs,
And also, I think with Coventry, I've luckily had a chance to actually play on the pitch there, and for a Coventry who are in Championship and obviously League One, and they've been sort of shuffling around a little bit. It's such a great facility. It is in theory a very top end or bottom end maybe Premiership ground to a very top end.
But what happens there though, Blaskhan? I was privileged. I was privileged actually as a QPR fan. If you haven't done already, to be at the first game at the Ricoh Arena, because it was Coventry QPR. And what I did was I got there very early at the Ricoh Arena, and there was no security there on the day. And what I actually did was I actually walked onto the Ricoh Arena and looked around and thought, what a fantastic stadium. Now the first day, what happened was, because it was the first day, I think it was a £10 programme or something like that, it was very expensive, the programme, but everyone packed into the Ricoh Arena.
Yeah.
And you thought, well, this is going to be great. But then what happened over time was people then started not to go, and it became like this massive stadium where there was no atmosphere. And that's the danger with clubs looking for bigger stadiums, that you have 10,000 fitting in a 30,000 stadium.
Coventry's situation is a very unique one, isn't it? In that, to provide a stadium for Coventry, the local council, I think I've got this right, but I might be wrong. The local council decided that they would help to build a stadium, and they got a hedge fund.
It was built for the city council,
to finance it, and the hedge fund then withdrew some of the financing on purpose. I think a judge said this, that the money from the hedge fund was withheld on purpose so that Coventry would lose that stadium. You must be very, very bitter about that if you're a Coventry fan.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Well, allegedly, but I think
a judge has actually said that found that to be the case.
And the details have been kept confidential this time about the return. But obviously that's moving quite forward very quickly. I mean, early September against Shillingham, they go back there, but there's no point in having a massive stadium like that.
There's certainly no point in having a massive stadium empty and nobody playing there at all. That's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I think Arsenal went about it in the right way, where they had established themselves. Wenger, we keep going on about Arsenal's expectations and where they should be, but Wenger came in, established them with the intention of moving to the stadium, and they've made that transition very well.
They made this transition slightly earlier with Man City and Arsenal.
Yeah.
You've got Tottenham who now want to move to a bigger stadium.
Yeah.
QPR
West Ham are going to the Olympic Stadium.
Absolutely,
that's going to be interesting.
There's a lot
they're going to go on there.
It's amazing. When is it going to end?
Well, Coventry fans don't seem bothered. I'm not going to lie to you. They don't mind. Let's have a look and see. Yeah, no, you're all right, actually. They're pretty much sorted. So
they know
if
they're
you're
going
happy,
home.
we're happy, Coventry. Don't you worry about it.
Absolutely. But I still make the point, excuse me, that the big stadiums can be a really empty place to watch football. And I've seen it. I've witnessed it.
Yeah.
And you think, woof.
For example, Milton Keynes, I'm not going to refer to them as Dons for obvious reason, but they've got, I think it's a 30,000 seater stadium designed by the same people who did Arsenal's, with the intention, I think it was for hosting UEFA, sort of like under-21 World Championship games, all that kind of stuff. But we went there for the Capital One Cup a few weeks ago, first round. Yes, we got beaten. We probably expected to get beaten, but obviously there was a lot of pride on the line. empty stadium. You're a League One team, and in fairness, where Wimbledon have kind of progressed from the bottom all the way to League Two, they've remained in League One all that time, and I think they struggled to get maybe 8,000 people there.
Well, it's an excellent point, well made, in terms of the big stadiums that have been introduced. We are going to take a very short break and then we'll look at the big game tomorrow. Well, there's certainly one big game for me, Tottenham QPR, plus all the others after this short break.